There's no manual for when your marriage starts dying quietly. No alarms, no warnings. Just small, almost invisible cracks that spread wider every day. And by the time you notice, the whole foundation is ready to collapse under your feet. For me, it started with the kisses. They used to be real, warm, lingering, absent-minded little gestures of affection that made even a bad day seem survivable. But somewhere along the line, they changed, became shorter, mechanical, like checking a box. Then came the excuses. I'm just tired tonight, babe. Work's been crazy. I think I'm coming down with something. Let's not risk it. God, my head is killing me. Rain is coming. You know how it triggers my migraines. And because I'm not a monster, because when you love someone, you trust them, I didn't push. I didn't question. I let her have her space, believing every word because that's what a good husband is supposed to do. Or maybe because deep down, I didn't want to believe otherwise. Her name is Emma. 6 years married. 9 years together. We built a life like 1,000 other couples. Slow, steady, imperfect, but ours. Lazy Sunday mornings tangled in bed. Stupid inside jokes only we understood. Vacations we could barely afford but took anyway. Because memories mattered more than money. At least, that's what I thought. She worked in marketing. Long hours, lots of networking events, late-night Zoom meetings she took with the door closed. I didn't question it, not at first. She was passionate about her career. Independent. I admired that about her. But admiration turned to doubt when passion stopped extending to our marriage. I'd come home from work, find her curled on the couch with her laptop, wearing one of her old sweatshirts, and that distracted look she reserved for just 5 more minutes of work. 5 minutes turned into hours. Dinner would be cold by the time she closed her laptop. Our conversations grew shorter, safer. I'd ask about her day. She'd give one-word answers. I'd try to tell her about a client win or a disaster at the office, and she'd nod along without really listening. The worst part was the bed. Our bed had always been our place, our bubble against the world. But now, she slept as far away from me as the mattress allowed. A pillow sometimes accidentally wedged between us. If I reached for her, she'd shift, muttering about being too hot or too tired. I started keeping track, without meaning to. 34 days without sex. 14 days without even a real kiss. 8 days since she last touched me longer than 2 seconds. And I know, marriage isn't supposed to be all fireworks and passion forever. Life gets busy. People get tired. Stress builds up. But this felt different. It wasn't just absence. It was avoidance. One night, I found her crying quietly in the bathroom. The door wasn't even fully closed. I hesitated outside, hand half raised to knock, but something made me stop. She wasn't crying like someone grieving or overwhelmed. It sounded more like guilt. I went back to bed that night with a sick feeling blooming in my gut. Maybe I thought I was losing her. Maybe I already had. But denial is a hell of a drug. I doubled down instead. I started cooking her favorite meals again, surprising her with little gifts, suggesting weekend getaways. She smiled, thanked me, kissed my cheek, but she never really looked me in the eyes anymore. Around this time, Emma's business trips increased. Once every few months turned into once every few weeks. She'd leave on a Friday for work, come back Sunday night, exhausted and distracted, always with some conference swag tucked into her suitcase, like proof she'd been where she said she was. The first time I snooped was an accident. She left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I wasn't looking for anything. I just glanced over and saw a hotel booking confirmation. Las Vegas. We live in Ohio. The booking wasn't under a company name. It was a private reservation. 1 room, 1 king bed. My stomach dropped. Still, I told myself 1,000 lies to stay afloat. Maybe she booked it herself to save money for the company. Maybe it's just a glitch. Maybe there's a reasonable explanation. Maybe. But when she got home from that conference, she didn't rush to kiss me. She didn't even really hug me. She smiled tired and distracted and said, "Thanks for understanding, babe. I'm going to crash early." And I let her, because it was easier than facing what my gut already knew. I stood in the kitchen long after she'd gone to bed, staring at the untouched bottle of wine I bought to celebrate her return. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel stupid. I felt angry. And underneath the anger, something colder, harder. A part of me that had been buried under love and loyalty for too long finally stirred. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I wasn't going to scream or beg or cry. No, I was going to get proof. And when I had it, when she was caught in the undeniable truth of her own betrayal, I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to make sure she lost everything she thought she could get away with keeping. The clock had started ticking. Emma just didn't know it yet. The next morning, everything looked the same. The sun rose. Emma brewed her usual pot of coffee. She wore her favorite oversized sweater and scrolled mindlessly on her phone, half listening as I mumbled a good morning. To her, it was just another Sunday. To me, it was the beginning of the end. I didn't change anything outwardly, didn't treat her differently. I was still the same husband who smiled, who washed the dishes, who asked about her day. But inside, something fundamental had shifted. I was done being blind. So I started small. I downloaded an app that let me clone her phone notifications to mine. Every text she received, every call she made, would quietly echo to my device. I wasn't proud of it, but pride was a luxury I could no longer afford. It was surprisingly easy. She'd gotten lazy, arrogant, trusting that the man she'd systematically pushed aside wouldn't dare to question her. The first few days were uneventful. Work texts, group chats, memes from friends. Innocuous. Then, on a Thursday night, the first rail crack appeared. Can't wait to see you again. You drive me crazy. From a number not saved in her contacts. I sat there staring at the notification as Emma laughed at something on TV. Oblivious. The message was casual, bold, the kind you don't send unless you're sure you're wanted. I didn't react. I didn't even flinch. I just smiled and asked if she wanted more popcorn. She declined, claiming her stomach hurt. Of course it did. Over the next week, the messages continued. Short, flirty, dangerous. I'm still thinking about last weekend. Wish you were here right now. You're incredible. Don't forget that. Meanwhile, Emma stuck to her tired excuses at home. I have a migraine. I'm just not feeling sexy lately. It's not you, it's the stress. Every excuse slid off her tongue effortlessly, like she'd rehearsed them. Maybe she had. The Rayall kicker came the next Saturday. Emma was supposed to be attending a team-building retreat 2 towns over. She packed light, a duffel bag, her laptop, a book she never actually read. She kissed my cheek at the door, eyes bright and distracted. "Love you," she said. I smiled back. "Love you too." Then I followed her. I stayed 2 cars behind. Hands steady on the wheel, breathing even. She didn't head north toward the conference center like she said she would. She headed east, straight toward a boutique hotel near the river. I parked a block away, pulled my cap low over my forehead, and watched. A few minutes later, a man emerged from the side entrance. Mid-30s, athletic, too good-looking in the smarmy, gym bro kind of way. He wore a smug smile and carried 2 coffees. Emma met him at the door. She threw her arms around him like a teenager in love. They kissed, not a friendly peck, not a work acquaintance hug, a full-bodied, deep kiss, the kind of kiss that used to be mine. I watched them disappear inside together, my heart hammering so loud it almost drowned out the rest of the world. Almost, but not quite. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, cataloging the scene, burning it into my memory. Proof. Undeniable, crystal clear proof. The next few days passed like a surreal dream. Emma came home late Sunday night, reeking of perfume she never wore for me. She showered almost immediately, claiming she felt gross from the drive. I held her afterward, pretending not to notice how stiff she was in my arms. I let her murmur her apologies for being so tired. Let her smile at me like nothing had changed. Because for her, nothing had. But for me, everything was different. I wasn't planning to confront her immediately. That would be too easy. Too satisfying for her to cry and beg and make herself the victim. No, Emma deserved better. She deserved something she couldn't spin. She deserved to fall so hard, so undeniable, that she'd spend the rest of her life wondering when the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. I spent my nights drafting a plan, researching legal angles, property laws, financial assets, hidden bank accounts. She thought I was too soft to ever hurt her. She thought she could keep lying, keep sneaking around, and I'd stay exactly where she left me, a loyal fool. Let her think that. The silence was my weapon now. Every good revenge needs patience, and I had nothing but time. There's a certain freedom in knowing your world has already burned. You stop fearing the fire. Over the next few weeks, I laid the groundwork for what would become the most satisfying closure imaginable. Piece by piece, brick by brick, I built a silent empire of leverage, all while Emma floated through life believing nothing had changed. If anything, she was bolder, longer business trips, more distant touches, more nights claiming she was too tired or too sick for intimacy, though she seemed to have endless energy for late-night texting. She didn't even hide it well anymore, but that was fine. Her arrogance was my greatest asset. First, I hired a private investigator. It wasn't cheap, but some investments are worth every penny. Photos, videos, hotel receipts, detailed logs of every meeting, every rendezvous, every lie. The evidence piled up fast. I compiled it into a folder labeled for Emma and saved it in multiple places. Cloud backups, hard drives, even a few encrypted USBs hidden around the house. If I was going to go scorched earth, I wasn't leaving any room for doubt. Second, I started moving money. Quietly, legally, strategically. Joint accounts became solo ones under the radar. Shared assets shifted into trusts with my name alone attached. Anything I couldn't transfer, I documented in nauseating detail. There would be no messy battles later, no surprises. By the time she realized what was happening, she'd already be standing in the middle of a crater, wondering where her life went. Third, I rebuilt myself. I hit the gym again. Hard, not out of vanity, out of necessity. There's something about lifting heavy weight, pushing your body until it shakes, that sharpens your mind like nothing else. I needed to be sharp, focused, ruthless. The physical changes came quickly. The emotional ones came even faster. I stopped doubting myself, stopped second-guessing, stopped loving her. Love, it turns out, isn't unconditional. It has limits. It can be exhausted, drained, bled dry until all that remains is clarity. I wasn't doing this out of heartbreak anymore. I was doing it out of justice. And damn, it felt good. Fourth, and most importantly, I prepared the stage. Emma's birthday was coming up. She wanted a small get-together with just a few close friends at a nice restaurant downtown. The kind of upscale, Instagram-worthy place she loved flaunting on her feed. She mentioned it casually one night, brushing past me on her way to the fridge. Nothing big, she said. Just meaningful. Meaningful. She had no idea how meaningful it would be. I offered to handle the details. Book the restaurant. Send the invites. You're the best, she said, kissing my cheek absently. For once, I didn't feel a surge of sadness at her empty affection. I felt a thrill. I reserved the private dining room, arranged catering, coordinated with the staff. I invited her family, her closest friends, her boss, her co-workers, and her lover. Oh, yes, I made sure I got an invite. I told Emma it was a surprise, that I planned something special to show her how much she meant to me. She beamed, eyes lighting up with that old sparkle I hadn't seen in months. You're amazing, she whispered. I smiled back. You have no idea. In the weeks leading up to the party, Emma practically floated through life. She was sweet again, attentive, almost loving. The guilt gnawed at her, probably, her subconscious throwing one last desperate life preserver into a sea she'd already drowned us both in. I played my role to perfection, the devoted husband, the clueless fool. But inside, I was counting down the days. Every text she sent to him, every excuse she whispered in my ear, every lie she breathed into my trusting face. It all added fuel to the fire I was about to unleash. Because there's something you need to understand about betrayal. It's never really about the act. It's about the insult, the assumption that you were too blind, too weak, too dependent to ever notice. Emma thought she had me trapped. Emma thought she could eat her cake and have her side dish too. Emma thought wrong. The night of the party was coming. The stage was set. The audience was ready. And I had the script memorized. She just didn't know she was the star of the final show. The day of Emma's surprise birthday party dawned bright and clear. It felt fitting, almost poetic. The sun shining obliviously on the day her carefully constructed world would implode. Emma was practically vibrating with excitement. She'd spent the morning fussing over her hair, her outfit, her makeup, the kind of effort she hadn't made for me in a long, long time. Watching her twirl in front of the mirror, posing, adjusting, smiling at her own reflection, was almost fascinating. There was no sign of guilt in her face. None. Maybe she had convinced herself that she deserved both lives, the devoted husband at home and the lover on the side. Maybe she thought she was untouchable. Maybe she just didn't care. Either way, it didn't matter anymore. The restaurant was a sleek, modern place downtown, the kind of venue that screamed important occasion. Private valet, rooftop views, waiters who wore gloves and treated water refills like sacred rituals. Perfect for a grand finale. The private dining room I'd reserved had a panoramic view of the city skyline, floor-to-ceiling windows, and just enough space to feel intimate while still packing in all the important witnesses. Friends, family, co-workers, and, of course, the man she'd been sharing more than just work emails with. The guests arrived slowly, greeting Emma with hugs and compliments. She beamed, soaking it all up like a queen holding court. I made the rounds too, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, pretending to be the proud, doting husband. Meanwhile, the USB drive in my pocket felt like it was burning a hole through my jacket. Inside it, everything: photos, messages, receipts, timestamp location pings, a neatly organized dossier of betrayal. The restaurant staff had strict instructions. 10 minutes into dinner, the slideshow would begin. A tribute to Emma, I told them. They smiled, nodded, and promised to cue it up exactly as requested. Emma sat at the center of the table, glowing, laughing a little too loudly at every compliment, sipping champagne like the world belonged to her. She didn't even notice him arrive. Her lover. He was late, of course. Always the reckless, cocky type. He swaggered in like he owned the place, tossed his coat at the hostess, and made a beeline for the table. I watched Emma's eyes widen for half a second before she schooled her expression back into polite surprise. "What are you doing here?" she said, half laughing. "Your husband invited me," he said with a grin, clapping me on the back like we were old drinking buddies. I grinned back. "Wouldn't be a party without all the important people in your life, right, sweetheart?" She laughed, a little too loudly, a little too forced. Her hands were trembling slightly as she adjusted her napkin. Tick, tock. The first course was served. Wine flowed. The room buzzed with conversation and laughter. 10 minutes. I checked my watch. 5 minutes. Emma leaned over and kissed my cheek. "This is amazing," she whispered. I smiled. "You deserve it." 3 minutes. 2. 1. The lights dimmed slightly. A hush fell over the room as a projector flickered to life. Emma gasped, covering her mouth with one perfectly manicured hand. Photos of her childhood flashed across the screen. Her first birthday party. Her graduation. Our wedding day. She relaxed, smiling shyly as the guests awed and clapped. She had no idea. The screen faded to black. And then it began. The first image was a grainy but unmistakable photo. Emma locked in a passionate kiss with her lover outside the boutique hotel. A few gasps echoed around the room. Emma's smile froze. The next slide, a screenshot of their flirty messages. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend. You're incredible." More gasps. Murmured whispers. The third slide, hotel receipts, time-stamped, credit card numbers matching Emma's. Her boss shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The fourth, a video clip from a hidden camera. Emma and him, wrapped around each other in a hotel hallway, laughing like teenagers. Dead silence. Emma turned toward me, face bloodless, eyes wide and wild. "What is this?" she hissed. I leaned back in my chair, swirling the last sip of my wine. "Happy birthday, Emma." The slideshow kept playing, each new image hammering another nail into the coffin of her carefully crafted life. Her parents stared in horror. Her friends exchanged horrified glances. Her co-workers looked like they wanted to crawl under the table. Her lover? He just stood there, slack-jawed and pale. The screen faded to black one final time. The room stayed silent for a long, aching moment. I rose to my feet, smoothing out my jacket. "I just wanted you all to see," I said calmly, "the real Emma." Then I turned to her, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "Papers are in the mail. Account are locked. The house? In my name now. Your car? Lease's under me, too." I smiled gently. "Good luck, sweetheart." And with that, I walked out. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could already hear her world collapsing behind me. Part 5. Desperate echoes. I didn't bother turning my phone off. I wanted to hear it ring. And ring it did. 24 missed calls by the time I made it back to my apartment. 37 by the time I finished a beer and sat on the balcony, letting the cool night air wrap around me like a shield. Each call was like a tiny scream echoing out from the wreckage I'd left behind. Voicemail after voicemail. Text after text. "Please, Alex, just let me explain. It wasn't what it looked like. I made a mistake. It's not serious. It's you I love. Pathetic. There it was. The cycle. Denial. Minimization. Gaslighting. She thought she could claw her way out of this like she always did, with pretty words and fake tears. But this time, I wasn't trapped under her spell. I was free. Monday morning rolled around, and with it, the fallout truly began. Emma was served divorce papers at her office. Her boss, who had been present at the party, didn't even wait for an HR meeting. He had her walked out within the hour. Conduct unbecoming of a senior associate. The email said, no references, no severance, just a cardboard box and 1,000 stares. Her lover, that Jim Bro idiot, he tried to distance himself publicly, posted some sanctimonious garbage on social media about valuing honesty and self-growth. Rumor had it he was already seeing someone else. Beautiful. I didn't interact. I didn't gloat. I just watched quietly as everything she thought was permanent crumbled into dust. The house, mine. The car, mine. Our joint savings? Secured and reallocated. Emma had signed away most of her rights years ago without realizing it. Too eager to simplify things when we bought our home. Too trusting that I'd always be there. When she finally worked up the courage to show up at my door, 2 weeks later, eyes red, makeup smeared, wearing the same hoodie she'd once mocked me for loving, I didn't even open it. I watched her through the peephole. Watched as she knocked again, then pounded, then slumped against the door sobbing. Please, Alex. Please don't do this. Please don't leave me like this. Oh, but I wasn't leaving her. She left herself. All I did was let the truth catch up to her. I waited until her cries turned to whimpers, until she finally gave up and staggered down the hall, shoulders shaking. And I felt nothing, not pity, not anger, not even satisfaction, just peace. Because I realized something she never would. You don't win by screaming louder. You don't win by begging someone to love you again. You win by moving on without them. A week later, I finalized the sale of the house, booked a one-way flight to Italy, not for anyone else, not for revenge. For me, I didn't leave a forwarding address. I didn't block her number. I didn't need to. Let her text into the void for as long as she needed. Let her remember every lie, every betrayal, every choice that led her to that empty space where my love used to be. She taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And when they burn the bridge between you, never waste your time trying to rebuild it. Walk away. Walk proud. Walk free. And never, never look back. Italy welcomed me with open arms and endless skies. There was something about stepping off that plane, no baggage, no obligations, no ghost claw at my heels, that made it feel like I'd finally escaped a life sentence I hadn't realized I'd been serving. I rented a tiny apartment above a bakery in a sleepy coastal town. The air smelled like sea salt and fresh bread. Every morning, I'd wake to the sound of waves crashing against the cliffs. Nobody knew me here. Nobody cared. I wasn't Emma's husband. I wasn't the guy who got cheated on. I was just Alex. For the first time in my life, that was enough. I spent my days wandering cobbled streets, learning Italian badly but enthusiastically, sketching the ocean, reading books I'd always been too busy to open. Life slowed down. Life got real. Every now and then, I'd think about her. Not out of pain. Not even anger. Just curiosity. I imagined her sitting alone in some cramped apartment back home, replaying every mistake, every lie, every moment she thought she was untouchable. I wondered if she still checked her phone at night, hoping for a message that would never come. I hoped she did. Not out of cruelty. Out of justice. You don't get to set someone's world on fire and walk away without getting a little scorched yourself. Months passed. I met people. Good people. People who didn't judge me by my past, who didn't measure my worth by what I could give them or how useful I was to their image. One afternoon, while sketching the sunset on the beach, a woman sat beside me. Sophia. She had laughing eyes and a way of speaking that made every word feel like a song. We talked about everything and nothing. About books, about art, about life. She didn't ask about my scars. She didn't need to. She saw me as I was, not as I had been. We took it slow. No grand declarations. No heavy expectations. Just two people sharing quiet moments, building something real from the ground up. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. I just felt happy. One evening, standing at the edge of a rocky cliff with Sophia's hand in mine, I realized something. Emma hadn't broken me. She'd freed me. Every lie, every betrayal, every cruel, thoughtless decision. It all led me here, to this moment, to this life. I could have let her define me. I could have let her make me bitter. But I didn't. I chose better. I chose peace. I chose freedom. I chose me. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in violent shades of orange and crimson, I closed my eyes and breathed it all in. The end and the beginning, both mine to claim. Finally, forever.